All right, today we're going to dive into a really fascinating thought experiment. It uses that little device you're probably holding right now to ask one of the biggest questions out there. So let's just jump right in with the big question. In a world with no factories, no engineers, no blueprints at all, could a brand new smartphone, with all its crazy complexity, just build itself? To even begin to wrap our heads around that, we've got to go way, way back to the very beginning, to a universe that was basically just a big pile of junk. So just imagine, billions of years ago, there's no structure, no plan, just this cosmic soup. A giant pile of dumb atoms, silicon, gold, lithium, all just floating around in a total mess. Pure, raw material, and nothing else. And the analogy the source uses here is pretty perfect, actually. It's not just a pile of atoms, it's like the junk in a teenager's messy room. You know, it's chaotic, it's disorganized, and it is definitely not about to organize itself.
And just to be super clear about what we're working with here, these atoms, they've got zero brains, no hands, not a single instruction sheet. They're basically just floating around, completely clueless. All right, so we've got our clueless atoms, a messy cosmic room. What happens next? Well, this is what the thought experiment calls the impossible accident.
I mean, for a smartphone to just happen, these dumb atoms would somehow have to decide to team up. It's kind of like they all got together and said, yo team, let's build the latest iPhone 16 Pro Max by pure accident.
And then you start to see just how wild this whole idea is. I mean, first, you need silicon atoms to just randomly line up into a perfect 3-nanometer chip. Then, out of nowhere, gold atoms have to float over and weave these super thin wires with zero mistakes, no shorts. And the lithium, it has to squeeze itself into a battery that won't explode and will last all day. Oh, and the sand, it's got to turn itself into super strong, fingerprint-proof Gorilla Glass. Every single piece, from that insane 48-megapixel camera to the paper-thin speakers, it all has to fall into place, perfectly, just by chance. And just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, that chip alone, we're talking 19 billion transistors that have to align themselves perfectly. 19 billion! And remember, all of this incredibly complex process is happening with no factory, no engineers, and absolutely no quality checks. A brand new working smartphone just, poof, appears out of the chaos. So you lay out the scenario that seems completely impossible, and that brings us to the conclusion of the thought experiment, the designer hypothesis. So here it is, side by side. On the one hand, you've got raw, clueless junk, and on the other, an insanely precise, incredibly useful piece of technology. How do you get from A to B? And this is the core point, right? When you see that kind of transformation from total randomness to something that works perfectly, the argument is that it couldn't have just happened. It's too perfect to just be a lucky roll of the dice. This whole line of reasoning really plays on our own intuition. Think about it. When you see something with crazy precision and complexity that actually works, you know, like a high-end watch or a jet engine, your first thought is never, wow, what amazing luck. No, you don't think that. You go, whoever made this is ridiculously smart. Our gut reaction, our immediate assumption is that there was intelligence behind it, that someone or something designed it. And that's where this whole thought experiment leaves us. It's really a modern take on a very old idea, right? The classic watchmaker analogy. If you find a complex machine lying on the ground, does its existence prove there was a maker? So the source uses this smartphone to ask us all a huge question. When we see true, functional complexity in the universe, what does that imply?